On the show in Wheelspin, we drive the Isuzu MU7. In Wheelspin, we also ride the Triumph Bonneville. And on the road, we take the Fiat Linea to Kasauli. Chances are you wouldn't have seen this vehicle. Neither had I. Why? I will solve that mystery for you in a little while. But now let me tell you about the vehicle. This is the Isuzu. Now hold your breath. This is called the Isuzu MU7. MU7 to me sounds like the name of a secret service agent or a chopper. But alphanumeric naming is quite common in the automotive industry, so that falls in line with it. Now I'm going to drive this MU7 and tell you all about it today. The MU7 is powered by the trusted Isuzu diesel unit. A 3-liter common rail turbo unit goes to work every time you blip the throttle and churns out about 163 PS of power and 316 Newton meters of torque, and the engine feels quite lively on the highway. Power delivery is direct and very linear. However, what can be improved is the levels of dampening, because a bit of vibration and noise creeps into the cabin, especially at lower levels. Every time you turn a corner, there is a pronounced body roll, and the suspension is more tuned for ride comfort than for handling, which is just as well on our Indian pothole roads. Most diesel car owners would easily recall the name Isuzu. They were one of the first engine suppliers in India, and even the good old Ambassador was powered by the diesel Isuzu. Isuzu has a long legacy of making diesel engines and has supplied to many manufacturers in India. And one can safely say that the engines are well made and reliable. And now for the first time, the company has made its entry under the brand name Isuzu. And instead of just selling engines, will assemble full cars and market it under their brand. The manufacturing facility is located outside Chennai and is the same one where Hindustan Motors were assembling their Mitsubishi Lancers. The company says that they will create their own manufacturing facility in times to come, as they are quite bullish on India. Get into the MU7 and you are transported back instantly at least a decade. The gear lever here is long and ropey, and it doesn't do much for the ergonomics of the car. The steering wheel too is large and leather wrapped, but what it lacks is some basic control buttons. The instrumentation, same. It's nice and large and easy to read, but it lacks a lot of ornamentation and decoration which the modern SUVs come adorned with. And this is where I think the MU7 is going to take a big beating. This is the longest SUV sold in the country, with a gigantic wheelbase of almost 3 meters, which means that it has indeed a generous cabin space. And the company claims that this is a full-blown 7-seater. And I personally have always smiled at this claim, and most manufacturers tuck in a bench-like contraption in the back and like to call it a seat. And for leg space, you have your knees tucked into your face. But this time around, the Isuzu MU7 actually has space for all 7 people. I've always wondered as to why people in India really buy SUVs, especially as they don't off-road so much. One reason can be that they want to flaunt their status. Second reason can be you want loads of space to carry both people and luggage. And if that's the reason why you're buying an SUV, then this MU7 is going to do the job really well. It has loads of space here and it's a 7-seater. On top of that, it has a very high ground clearance of 210 millimeters, which gives the vehicle a really nice high stance. The arrangement of seats is comfortable, and if you are reasonably built, you will fit in comfortably even if you are the 7th passenger. The big size of the MU7 really comes in handy, and the design layout permits what it's meant for, packing in as many people as possible, and that too in comfort. What adds to the practicality of this car is the price point. At around rupees 23 lakhs, you are getting an SUV which does the job just as well, with all basic creature comforts, adequate space, and the economy of a diesel engine, which belts out sufficient power. This SUV has everything one might need for everyday use, except for the style quotient. It looks decidedly dated, and the fit and finish can be improved. Now it's time for me to unravel the mystery and tell you why you haven't seen as many MU7s as you should have seen. The reasons are two. Number one, the company Isuzu is new to India and they are in the process of setting up their dealerships. Number two, the MU7 is not BS4 compliant, which means it can't be sold in the metros. But the company now is in the process of answering both these issues and setting up as many dealerships as possible. So in the next few months, hopefully you will see many more MU7s across the country. Well, how do I sum up this Isuzu MU7? In my opinion, it's a basic SUV, but it does the job quite well. But mind you, it doesn't come with a 4x4. But the engine has enough power, and above all, the interiors are really spacious and you can stretch out in comfort. But the problem with it is that it's too basic. It lacks the flamboyance and the bells and whistles of a modern-day SUV. And that, in my opinion, is where the MU7 will take a major beating in the market.
From the house of the oldest British motorcycle manufacturer on the planet, we have with us a bike for which time has basically stood still. It looks pretty much the same as the first one that rolled off the assembly line way back in 1959. Now named after the legendary Bonneville Salt Lake Flats in the USA, this bike still retains the old school charm and retro styling which has earned it a legion of followers the world over. Yes, we're talking about the Triumph Bonneville. Now the Bonneville is powered by a fuel-injected 865cc parallel twin engine which puts out about 67 bhp at 7500 rpm and a peak torque of about 68 Nm at 5800 rpm. Now to put the engine through its paces, we get a 5-speed gearbox with a standard 1-down 4-up configuration. The wheel at the front is a 19-inch, the one at the back is a 17-inch, and what is interesting is the fact we get wire spoke wheels that further go to enhance the classic styling of this legendary motorcycle. One look at the Bonneville and your face can't help but smile. The classic styling might remind you of the days gone by, but deep down inside, it's as modern as anything else out there. Now these wire spoke wheels are not available on the regular Bonneville but on the T100 Bonneville which we have here. Now this bike in addition also has a few cosmetic changes to give it a more premium feel and to distinguish it from the regular Bonneville. We have loads of more chrome on this one on the engine and gearbox, a different paint job and an increased wheelbase of 2 inches over the regular Bonneville. Well, enough about the looks, now let's get this thing started and hit the road. Notice that the key goes to the left side of the headlight, turn it on, engine kill switch off and fire it up. And let's see how it sounds. Now I have to say here that for an 865cc twin-cylinder engine, this definitely does not provide the aural excitement as it sounds a bit muted. Well, time now to hit the road and see how it behaves out on the tarmac. Sitting upright on this long one-piece seat, the Bonneville comes across as a very easy bike to maneuver. It becomes an extension of you and feels very nimble around the corners. The 41mm Kanhaiya front forks provide 120mm of travel and do a great job of soaking the bumps, while the Kanhaiya twin shocks at the rear come with an adjustable preload and 106mm of travel. It's a relatively neutral setup, offering the best of both worlds with respect to handling and comfort, but I did feel that the rear shock should have been more forgiving, especially when going over bumps at high speed. Once it gets warmed up, the engine itself is super smooth and there are a few vibrations that are felt through the handlebars, but perhaps that is intentional and a part of the old school charm. The Bonneville T100 easily lives up to all the good things that we've heard about it. Its upright seating position, wide handlebars, a smooth gearbox coupled to a very responsive engine make sure that hours of riding this classic motorcycle leave you content and satisfied. But for me, the most important thing is that I can't help but give it one final glance of appreciation before finally calling it a day.
It's early morning and once again I'm headed out of Delhi, and this time my car's nose is pointing northwards. I'm off to the beautiful state of Himachal Pradesh, to a small town called Kasauli. It's a beautiful scenic place and it's just about 5 hours away. And on the way I'm going to make some very interesting stopovers. But before I drive any further, it's time for me to take a breakfast break. I wish I could invite you to this one because this is going to be a special breakfast. North Indian speciality. Piping hot parathas and dahi early in the morning. We are headed north towards Himachal and Punjab, so I guess this sets the tone right for the trip. We have done quite a few trips with the Fiat Linea and over time it has really grown on me. The car has plenty of power for the highway, it's extremely comfortable, lots of space. Actually there is so much going for this Fiat Linea that I tell you it's one of the best buys if you want to go highway cruising in India. This Fiat Linea is powered by the 1.3-litre multi-jet unit and it churns out about 93 PS. And this power really comes in handy for all the overtaking maneuvers on the highway. This 1.3-litre turbo diesel unit is also extremely fuel efficient. And this is what makes this Linea such a good highway cruiser, as it also helps you save money on the fuel bill. Heading out of Murthal on NH24, we set course for Chandigarh, which will be our first brief stopover. The highway is busy but is well surfaced and the drive is smooth. Entering Punjab at this time of the year, we are greeted by an all-round greenery and the beautiful green-yellow sea of mustard field, which dot the highway on both sides, making it extremely scenic. After a leisurely drive of around 3.5 hours, we enter the city of Chandigarh. Chandigarh is one of the first planned cities of modern India, with tree-lined streets leading to big roundabouts. The city was once quiet and serene, but today, like most cities of urban India, it is busy and crowded in parts. But it still retains its charm and is easily one of the most beautiful cities of North India. There are many places to visit in Chandigarh, and if you do have time on your hands, you can easily spend a day here. I told you I'm going to stop over at some very interesting places, and Chandigarh happens to be one of them. Right behind me is what is Chandigarh's most famous landmark, the Sukna Lake. And it's the pride and joy of people of Chandigarh. And now that I am here, I can see why it is so. It's simply lovely at this time of the year. After you drive out of Chandigarh, you drive on the new Himalayan Expressway, which serves as a bypass for the town of Kalka. It's a scenic drive from Chandigarh to Parwanoo, where the hills start. I told you I'd be stopping over at some very interesting places on my way up to Kasauli. The first stop was at Chandigarh, and now I make my second stop just before the hills start. This place is called Parwanoo, and it's a lovely valley here with breathtaking view of the river flowing down below. And if you want to go up to the next hill, there's a cable car which connects that, and that should be an exciting affair. Parwanoo is the starting point of the journey into the Himachal hills, and this is where the hill climb starts. Sitting at the base of the hills, it is surrounded by valleys and the river flowing in the gorge. It's a perfect place to take a ride on the cable car or watch a beautiful sunset. Easily accessible by road from Chandigarh, this is the first stop for many who have limited time on their hands but still want to feel the mountain air. After a brief stopover in Parwanoo, we were once again on our way to Kasauli, a distance of around 30 kilometers. Kasauli is a quiet hill station nestled in the hills of Himachal Pradesh, founded by the British as a cantonment town in 1842. And long after they have left, it still retains its charm with colonial structures, laid-back way of life, and of course the majestic views of the lower Himalayas. Kasauli is situated at a height of 1800 meters above sea level. Six and a half hours later, and I finally make it to Kasauli, and I'm greeted by these charming old colonial buildings and churches and a relaxed pace of life. I'm looking forward to spending the weekend here, inhaling some fresh mountain air. If solitude and quiet is what you are looking for in your holiday, then Kasauli can be an ideal place for you. Long walks in the company of pine trees, or you can just simply sit down and gaze down the valley with the distant Himalayas in the background. A wonderful sight indeed. Churches with spires in well-laid-out surrounding is typical of British colonial towns, and Kasauli is no different. This 18th century structure still stands out for its architectural beauty and also gives Kasauli its landmark. There are many buildings in Kasauli which are well over a century old but still awe you with their beauty, and being a cantonment town, it has not seen rampant growth in construction activity. Unlike many other hill stations, Kasauli is far less commercialized and has a relatively small marketplace to only cater to your basic needs and the curious tourist looking for a bargain.
Kasauli really isn't about the kind of a vacation where you arrive with a list of things to do. Instead, it's about a place where you come, sit, relax, go for long walks, and you might even end up reading all the books you brought along sitting under a pine tree. It's about relaxing, it's about tranquility, and if that's what you're looking for, then I would strongly recommend Kasauli. Plus, it has a long, huge range of accommodation options which should suit your budget as well as your liking, and it's an easy drive from Delhi too.